fine. Let's go.
Okay. What did I can see?
Whatever you do, don't start yet.
What did
Okay.
I can see?
Hmm?
I can see.
Okay, you see. Okay, I'm gonna put the whole screen on. Give me a sec. Where's the whole screen? Okay, on share.
Will
Okay.
I see a countdown, guys?
Yeah, Makumalo, we're gonna put a whole screen on. We're gonna go live. So I'll let you know when you can start speaking. Eh?
Okay.
So just switch off. Okay, good, it's fine. I'm gonna go live.
Yeah, just put it there.
Is it live, dog?
Yeah, it's live.
Okay, cool. And what's that the webinar?
They're all speakers.
No, man, it's a wrong. I sent her the correct one, man.
Okay,
But it's
fine.
fine. Makumalo, you can begin. We're gonna go live. You can go live now. Okay, cool.
I'm in order. Your program. I'm sure we've got it.
Oratile,
Makumalo?
Umutoti CEO.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, we can go. We're gonna go live now. You can go in the next 5 seconds.
Umutoti CEO.
Yeah, yes, Makumalo. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome this morning. My name is Happy Makumalo Ngidi. I am the Chief Marketing Officer at Proudly South African. We welcome you this morning on this chilly morning, by the way. So the weather's been acting up quite a lot lately, but we're not complaining because we do want a bit of rain, which is fantastic, but it's a bit nippy though. But welcome everybody who's joined us already. 19 and the pandemic that has shaped the world differently. But we also talking about the fact that while all of this is happening, technology is also evolving, and there's a lot of things that we do as a people, as a country, as the world, as human beings, from a technology perspective, to better our operations as businesses, to better what we put out there in the public domain, what we put out to our audiences that we engage with as businesses. And we've got to move with the times. We have to move with the times and embrace technology and find ways to incorporate it into the way in which we run our respective businesses. So the fundamental question is South Africa ready, for IR, if you like, but is South Africa really, truly ready and is South Africa embracing the reality around technology and bettering our businesses and also ultimately bettering our economy as a country. So we've got great speakers lined up today. We have the CEO of Proudly South African, Eustace Mashimbye, who will just give you a bit of background in terms of how we fit into the whole technology scenario as Proudly South African and what our mandate is really. And then we also have Professor Dankiso Moloi, who is who's editor-in-chief for the African Journal of Corporate Governance Research. We also have Mr. Ngwako Ramohlale, who's business executive innovation at Solid Growth. And last but certainly not least, we have got Eddie Mukobodi, who's Director Emerging Markets of Sakisa Energy and Technology Group. So today's discussion is really about that. So without further ado, I will hand over to the CEO of Proudly South African, Mr. Eustace Mashimbie, who will set the tone for today's discussion, who will briefly talk about why we exist and what huge role we play in this space and any other space for that matter, as the country's buy local movement. So he will give us a bit of insight into what we do, and so looking forward to hearing from him. CEO, are you ready to join in and do your presentation? Okay, so we have technical glitches from the CEO's end. He's actually here with me in the office. But with that said, there's no crisis. What I am going to request we do is that we jump over to Professor Dankiso Moloi, who I'm very pleased to welcome on screen and ask him to take us through his presentation. So looking forward to what you have to say around this chat today. Prof, are you there?
Yes, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, loud and clear.
All right.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Can you hear me? Thank you very much. So then I'm actually from the University of Johannesburg. My name is Dankiso. So the University of Johannesburg is known for being at the forefront of the fourth industrial revolution. So then much as I'm the editor-in-chief of the African Journal of Corporate Governance Research, so I'm from the University of Johannesburg. So I would like to talk to you about the fourth industrial revolution. So what is it and where we are as South Africa? So then the context, so that you get to understand where we are. So then there is a major transformation that's taking place in our societies. So a year ago or two, so then some of these things that are happening now, so then the webinar that we are having online, so then possibly it wouldn't really have been thought of. So I would have, come to your office, then maybe get some biscuits and lunch afterwards, then make my presentation there. But, this is where we are. So then the major communication technologies that we are seeing or that we are using today, so then these technologies were basically so then not well known. So think of MeetMe, think of this Zoom platform, think of Google Classes, think of MS Teams, etc., etc. So some of these things, to be honest, we wouldn't have thought of them as effective tools to communicate. So some 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, people began to talk the fourth industrial revolution. So in my country, which is South Africa, so then some began to dismiss this thing. They said, well, this was an abstract concept. This is just a buzzword, etc., etc. So then the global breakout of the virus and the subsequent lockdowns, so then meant that businesses had to continue to operate. So then otherwise we would have seen more pain. We would have seen more business failures. We would have seen more job losses. So then something had to be done. These technologies came in handy. Suddenly, we remembered there is a friend called technology. So new ways or alternative ways of doing business had to be found. So then since people couldn't meet in groups for meetings, so then, we had to promote other alternative ways. So, I mean, where I am, so at a university, so we couldn't go to classes, we couldn't hold conferences. So then we had to find new ways. So then, which is Zoom, Teams, MeetMe, Hover, you know, for conferences and then interactions. So some of the tools, for instance, that we've used to teach includes WhatsApp groups, or, you know, it also, you know, then what WhatsApp group does is that it allows students and learners and us lecturers to post thoughts, ideas, and comments in an interactive learning environment. So you have Google Classes, you have YouTube channels, etc., etc. And some of the colleagues before COVID would have said, technology was a fancy thing, so it was not necessary, etc., etc. But it came in handy, so we could proceed and continue to do classes. So then, you know, virtually. So my view is that the lockdowns and COVID, they have normalized the use of technology. So even skeptics of technology have had to use it. So had it not been for technology, many things that we were able to do during COVID would have come to a standstill. So if you don't believe me, so then look at what happened to restaurants. So they, you know, came to a standstill. So, but the financial industry, academics, and all these high order jobs, high order type of careers also, then, you know, continue to work. So then what is this fourth industrial revolution? So as you would know, there was first, second, third, and fourth. So the first one was about the mechanization. So second one, electrification. Then third one, so then the computing power. So then others call it digitization. Then the fourth one, connectivity. So I prefer to call it the intelligence, simply because artificial intelligence is the key technology. So in the fourth industrial revolution, so then the art of making machines intelligent. And so, you know, there are radical shifts that are expected because of the fourth industrial revolution, particularly in factories. So then, you know, there are 4 of them that the World Economic Forum has outlined. So then they see manufacturing or factories, you know, as they, you know, that they will become self-organizing, more autonomous. So then value chains will become seamless. They will be seamlessly connected. You know, the supply chain too. So then it will be more enabled, more integrated. So data will also drive the creation of new services and innovation. So in business model. So given these developments, given some of these things, so then some of those that are doing research in the space, those that are leading in particular, so then have suggested first and foremost that Africa is behind. So we're not talking South Africa, let's talk Africa. Africa is behind. And then in South Africa, so then there is an acceptance that we are playing a catch-up game. So whilst we are trying to digitize, so automate the industries, and so we also trying to make sure that we play a role in the fourth industrial revolution. So then there is also a realization that other countries, you know, started years ago. So then you begin to sow the strategies, the artificial intelligence, the 4IR strategies come to the fore. So then 3-4 years back. So then you'd see, so on the slide that I'm just going to put up here, so what has been happening in the world, so then, and then where we are. So just that slide. So you can see, so then China in 2018, 2017, the US putting together these AI or 4IR strategies. So you can see Germany coming up with the German 4.0 AI strategy. So then China AI next generation plan, and the next 3 years, Japan, etc., etc. So then, you know, a whole lot is happening. So in Africa, so we've seen in Kenya. So then, you know, government putting together blockchain and the AI task force. So essentially, so this table shows you where Africa is positioned and then where South Africa is. So, and as you can see, so then in South Africa, so we've had the Presidential Commission on the fourth industrial revolution. So then in 2019, so then during the State of the Nation, so the president said, look, South Africa was left behind in other industrial revolutions. So then let us not be left behind in this Industrial Revolution too. So then we saw this Commission on 4IR, coming through. So what essentially explains these moves, countries, working hard to put together these strategies, is simply, because production has long been a significant driver for growth, prosperity, and innovation. So then, and many economies have experienced accelerated growth and development through industrialization. So then, however, we're saying there, traditional industrial development models that have supported growth in the past may not be viable in the future. So then this is what explains why developing countries are eager not to fall further behind, or even try to leapfrog other countries, so their competitors, so that they can have that competitive advantage. So then, and also then, developed countries are having enormous pressure. Falling behind could have, major consequences economically and then socially. So perhaps then I argue there that that's the reason why we're seeing the tit-for-tat tariffs between China and the US, and the sanctions of specific technology companies. So you can't sell this to Huawei, et cetera, So then there is a rush to acquiring that technology and dominating that space. So then, as I have indicated earlier, colleagues, so South Africa has created a framework for the fourth industrial revolution, so in the form of that presidential commission on 4IR. So then we saw the report coming through, so then last month or early this month. So then, and then when you go through that report, so then, to answer the question, where are we? So then, South Africa is at the nascent stage of the fourth industrial revolution. So then it is beginning to develop. There are areas where, technology has been well developed, well used. For instance, in the financial sector, so you would know, in your case, for instance, so when you, during the lockdown, level 5, so you still could bank thanks to the bank that's sitting on your cell phone, that banking app. So you could do your payments, et cetera, So then, but the headache remains the human capital. So then the report acknowledges that without addressing the human capital, so the opportunities presented by the fourth industrial revolution cannot be leveraged. And so we then have these recommendations that comes out of the Presidential Commission on the fourth industrial revolution. So then invest in human capital. We need to establish the AI Institute. We need to establish a platform for advanced manufacturing and new materials. We need to secure and avail data so that we can enable innovation. So we need to incentivize future industries, platforms and applications of 4IR. We need to build a 4IR infrastructure. We need to review and amend or create policies and legislations to promote the fourth industrial revolution. And finally, the establishment of the fourth industrial revolution strategy implementation coordination council within the presidency. So these are the recommendations coming out of the Presidential Commission. So, and forward looking, so then, then we can only take advantage of the opportunities, presented by this revolution if the human capital is well suited to operate in this environment. So South Africa was left behind, as indicated earlier. So in other revolutions, so it remains behind. We are playing that catch-up game. So then our report came through this year. So as you saw, so then countries started in 2015, 16, 17, putting together these strategies. So capabilities, particularly in AI, are in the private sector. So then to have a chance, the private public partnerships will become important. So in our case as academics and other influential people in the society, so we must do what we can leverage opportunities and then try to hedge the risk. So, you know, what does this mean? So then I do think that there will be opportunities for small businesses to take advantage of. So, but I mean, small businesses would have to be prepared. They would have to understand what 4IR is, you know, and they would have to be in a position to spot those opportunities. Human capital in small businesses must also be trained to assist in spotting those opportunities. So then if human capital, as we have indicated earlier, if it's not attended to, opportunities presented by this revolution cannot be leveraged. And just, you know, pause there a little bit. So then our unemployment rate now is, you know, high up there. So then, you know, close to your 30%. So your narrow definition of unemployment. So then as you automate, you know, the factories, the pain, if we don't prepare, so the pain could be more severe. So then higher education institutions also then would have a role to play. So then come up with programs, you know, try and expose the human capital and small businesses to some of these technologies. So then I just put a picture out there. So then some of the things that we are doing within our university. So then as the last slide. So, you know, looking at the digital citizenship, so then digital literacy, and then digital fluency, trying to introduce some of these programs in other academic programs. So then if you hear 4IR and technologies, et cetera, so then people always think of engineers, always think of computer scientists. So we're trying to, you know, introduce some of these programs, so to you know, other you know, academic programs. So then colleagues, so then I hope I was within time. Then thank you so much for listening to me. So.
Thank you so much, Prof. In terms of time, you did very well. You nailed it. Remind us to invite you again next time. Thank you so much. Your input is invaluable. We really appreciate it. Thank you. It is much appreciated. Please do not go away if it's possible on your side. I'm trying to see if I can spot any questions and any comments from, sorry, I believe I did not have my video on, but I'm trying to spot any comments and questions from our delegates. So I'm hoping that you'll be able to be part of the Q&As much later in the program. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, Prof. So moving right along, you know, funny that today's discussion is around the importance of technology. And as we kicked off, we couldn't have our first speaker, you know, join in, Mr. Eustace Mashimbie, because he was, there were gremlins from a technology perspective, and he was struggling to connect with us. But he is here now. Mr. Mashimbie, are you here now? Welcome. I see you've dealt with the gremlins and you won. Great.
I'm here. Thank you for the opportunity and for the patience whilst technology dealt with me a bit. I take it that it's my turn now and I can go? Yes, please, go ahead. With pleasure. Thanks. Thank you very much. I'll also try to keep to time. I think Prof set the standard very high now, so we have to live up to that standard. As introduced, my name is Eustace and I'm the CEO of Proudly South African. And my role today is to give you a sense of who Proudly South African is, what our mandate is, and what we seek to do in assisting with growing the economy, retaining jobs, and creating much needed new jobs within the South African economy. And so what we are is a buy local campaign, and our role is centered around ensuring that those who are tasked with the responsibility to buy when making purchasing decisions, choose locally made products, and whether in the private sector or in the public sector, or whether we as ordinary consumers are buying for our households, so we need to choose locally made products, because the resultant benefit is that the economy grows, jobs that are already in the economy that are in those companies that make the products that are being supported can be retained, and as demand for the products that are being made or produced by those products increases because we are choosing to buy local, those companies can then be in a position to can employ more people to help them deliver on what is required. And so we have 4 focus areas, and our sorry, I skipped too quickly. And so the concept of buying local is a global phenomenon, and it's not unique to South Africa. And in fact, the example I've given there is of the United States. I know they've been in the news for other reasons recently, but the one thing that the US has gotten right is the fact that they put in place legislation as far back as 1933. They put an act in place, they followed that up with other acts, including in 2017 when they issued amendments to that act, which seek to ensure that when Americans buy products that they are able to make themselves within the borders of the US, that they buy those products that are made locally and they don't necessarily import. And if you look at the previous administration, I mean, the administration that is going out, one of the things that they focused on in trying to resuscitate the American economy was to ensure that they implement protectionism measures in that they try to protect industries that are labor intensive and can absorb as many of the people that are employed in the US into jobs. And so when you look at the trends, the unemployment trends before COVID, you can see that the graph keeps going down. I took the period May 2017 to May 2019, and you can see that by May 2019, the unemployment rate had dropped to as low as 3.6%. And this is a population, the country with a population of about 329 million people. And so with 329 million people, they only had 5.9 million people unemployed, if you look at the narrow definition of unemployment. If you look at the unemployment in China, which has positioned itself as a factory for the world, even if a product is not necessarily consumed by the Chinese, but as long as it's consumed anywhere in the world, they will find the technology, they will find the means, they will learn how to make it, and they will make it themselves. And so, because all of us have become consumers of products that come from China, the unemployment rate in China has continued to drop from where it was in July 2016, as per my graph, to where it is now in January 2019. And this all before COVID. And this is a country with a population of 1.4 billion people, but they only had an unemployment rate of 3.67%. If you look at South Africa, and I focus on Q1 because if you look at the numbers for Q2, they don't necessarily give a proper sense of the unemployment rate as is in the country, because like the statistician general explained, they have to measure unemployment based on that which is prescribed by the ILO. And if you do that, you then focus only on those who have actively been looking for jobs during that lockdown period when people were not. So Q2 focused on the period where we went through that hard lockdown. And so the numbers that give you a proper sense are the Q1 numbers, which tell you that our unemployment level, if in terms of the narrow definition, was at 30.1%, with 7.1 million people unemployed, who were still looking for work, and 2.9 who were discouraged, and that gives you about 10 million if you look at the broader definition of unemployment. And if you add 2 million or more that lost jobs during that lockdown period, you're looking at about 12 million at a minimum of people in the country who've lost jobs, and the bulk of them are youth, and you see that the bigger percentage of women still remain unemployed. So we have to start making decisions that will benefit the country. And example that I want to give is the situation in the furniture industry, as insofar as the creation of jobs is concerned or retention of jobs is concerned. This is an industry that used to have 3,500 factories in 1999 making furniture. That dropped to 2,200 factories in 2018. And in terms of number of people employed in that industry, you had only 50,000 people employed in 2000, but that dropped to 26,000 in 2018. So about 24,000 direct jobs lost in the furniture industry. But those are just the direct jobs. If you look at the indirect jobs that are part of that whole value chain, synthetic fibers that come from the plastics industry are used to produce textile items that are used by the furniture manufacturers. So every time you buy an imported item, jobs in that industry are affected. If you look at the agricultural industry, which supplies us with natural fibers, hides, and skins that are also used that are converted into textiles, or leather items that are used by the furniture manufacturers also contribute jobs every time people buy furniture. Same with the metal industry, which contributes metal parts. There are paints and adhesives that come from the chemical sector. So all of these are part of that multiply effect that we talk about when we talk about the value chain, also contributing jobs. And so when jobs are lost in the direct manufacturing of furniture, they are indirectly affected as well, because then jobs are lost across all those industries, and some of those factories have closed down. So look at clothing, textile, footwear, and leather items. That industry used to have about 1,600 factories in 1996. That was reduced to 900 factories. And the reason for that is what you see on the right-hand side of the screen. We had a 480% increase in imports just within that 4-year period between 2002 and 2006. And we had a 730% increase in imports from China. So we still buy a lot of the goods that come from China and other parts of the world, but that takes away jobs. And so the factories that we've lost, we might not be able to regain unless we start making purchasing decisions that will support locally made products. And in terms of number of employees in that industry, the industry used to employ 200,000 people. That was dropped to 90,000. And so those are just examples to give you a sense of what the impact is on the economy when we buy imported items instead of buying that which is locally made. And so the focus areas of Policy Healthcare is on ensuring that we look at jobs in the public sector, and we look at what they buy in the public sector, and ensure that those who make purchasing decisions in the public sector choose locally made products every time they make purchasing decisions. And those in the private sector are educated by Policy Healthcare, and we endeavor to get them to also support locally made products. We educate the general public on the importance of buying local. And lastly, the role of Policy Healthcare, or the focus of Policy Healthcare, requires of us to increase accessibility of locally made products. So those who want to buy local needs to have easy access to those products. And so to become a member of Policy Healthcare, there's 4 key criteria that you need to adhere to, because that is what will then enable you to use the logo on your products, and consumers will then be in a position where they can easily identify which products are locally made and which ones have gone through our processes. Because if you look at the Proudly SA logo, you can see that it's made up of the colors of the national flag of the Republic of South Africa. So it tells you that the product is locally made. And so that's the first thing that we look at. The product itself must be made within the borders of South Africa. And so even in instances where you use raw materials that are not necessarily available in the country, but you bring them from outside, the conversion of those raw materials into the final product must happen within the borders of South Africa. So that's the first thing that we look at. We need to know that the product itself is made in South Africa. Not people who bring in finished products and just place logos on them saying made in South Africa or further processed in South Africa, whatever they say. The product itself must be made here so that jobs are created as part of that production process. Or even in instances where you render services, you must render the services within the borders of South Africa. And the second thing is the tick that you see on the logo. The green tick represents quality. It tells the consumer or the end user of that product that this product will satisfy the need for which it is bought. So quality is the next important criteria for us. The third criteria is when we focus on whether companies that affiliate with us implement sound environmental practices in the course of doing business. Do they recycle where they can? Do they dispose of waste responsibly and just help us preserve the environment? The last one looks at whether companies that affiliate with us in the course of employing people comply with the labor legislation of the country and implement fair labor practices and treat their workers fairly. And those are the 4 key criteria. Once you've gone through that process, we then take you through a process where we invoice you, and that is the fee structure. There is perception out there that membership of Policy South Africa is expensive. It really is not expensive. Companies with turnover up to 5 million rands pay 500 rands per annum. And between 5 million rands and 10 million rands turnover per annum, you pay 1,000 rands. And so the sliding scale is as you see it on the screen, and the most that is paid by members that affiliate with us is that which is paid by companies with turnovers of 100 million rands and above, and those guys pay 100,000 rands. And so that is the membership fee. It's really not expensive, because that's once off per annum. There is an array of benefits that accrue to members. And the most important of this is the fact that you can use the logo, which is recognized as an endorsement of local content and quality. So consumers, as they interact with the product, they know that they're buying a high quality, locally made product. And as we roll out campaigns that talk to consumers and encourage consumers to buy local, you benefit by association. And that is the first important thing. The second thing that is important is the fact that we, in the course of doing business and as we strengthen our value proposition, we are focused on access to markets. So Proudly South African focuses all its efforts on making sure that those who affiliate with us benefit from markets that exist either in the public sector and the private sector, as well as with ordinary consumers. And so I'll give you some of these examples. And the first bit of those is what happens in the private sector, where government has legislation in place that was signed into law back in 2011. That says if government buys any of these items, they're going to buy them from companies that make the products locally. In fact, the list has grown now from 23 to 27, but basically it restricts government from buying imported items every time it buys any of these items. And it's things that are produced widely in the country where the capacity exists. It's bus bodies, it's textile, clothing, leather, and footwear items, furniture products, wheelie bins, transformers, voltage motors, firefighting vehicles, and solar water heaters. And the role of Proudly South African in securing that market for its members is that we have started a process to integrate our database with the central supply database of National Treasury. Because if you want to do business with government, you'll have to ensure that your product is listed on the CSD or your company is listed on the CSD. And so we look at that list of 23 items that are designated by government. We then track the tenders that are issued by government every time they want to buy any of those items. And by government, I mean national, provincial, and local government, including all state-owned entities. We then track the tenders for those designated items. As we find those tenders, we send those tenders to those companies that are in our books that make those items so that they can respond to those tenders. We then also engage with government to help them correct the tenders where required. So if they issue a tender for furniture or clothing and textile or any of those 23 items that I showed you, and they don't give provisions that will exclude importers, we then work with them to ensure that they can fix the tenders and correct them and intervene at the time when the tender is issued, as opposed to waiting until the tender has been awarded. This then assists government to receive responses from bidders who are going to supply them with locally made products. In the private sector, we use our database of companies that are vetted for quality and local content to source localization commitments from the private sector. And a quick example is where we go into the banks and we ask them to commit to buying furniture locally, but we do that with raw materials and with other items across all industries. And it's part of their import replacement. So the entity will then say, this is the item that we'll buy locally. So if it's the bank saying they'll buy furniture locally, we then have to go into our database, find those furniture manufacturers that we can then send to the banks to say, these are guys that you can buy from. They will then transact as buyers and sellers, and we then implement a system of evaluation and monitoring where we track the spend and what the impact is, the socioeconomic impact is, but also what it has done to the creation of jobs and retention of jobs in those companies where that received the procurement opportunity from the private sector. So quick examples of what we do in the private sector: we seek job summit commitments from, in line with commitments from banks. The example I gave for where the banks are going to buy locally made furniture. The second example is where we talk to retailers, and we do this across all retail spaces. This just gives an example of what we do in the clothing and textile space, where Edcon, before its demise, had increased its local content levels from 38% to 53% over the period when we worked with them. We do this across all industries. In FMCG, we talk to the retailers, we talk to furniture retailers, and all of them are giving us commitments to increase levels of local content on their shelves, so that as consumers, when you walk in, you can find those locally made products, so that that option it can be exercised easily because the products are there. We then also talk to those who source raw materials, and the example we gave there's Coca-Cola beverages, but SAB is another one, and many others who have now made a conscious decision to say they're going to buy their raw materials locally. And so as a member of Proudly South, can you benefit from that purchasing decision if you are in that space and you supply the kind of raw material they require? Lastly is where we talk to people who represent large-scale buying, and here we use an example of the Franchise Association. The franchises that are affiliated with them choose to buy local. made products, and our database becomes critical. So that is the benefit, that as we secure the opportunities from the franchises, those companies that affiliate with us becomes the focal point and the reference point, and we can refer them to those franchises that are looking for suppliers of those specific products. We roll out consumer education programs. This is all the below the line stuff that we do pre-COVID and post-COVID. We're going to implement all of this. We're trying to activate a lot of this on digital platforms. But when it's normal, we do more activations, festival activations. We work with the unions to mobilize the labor force that affiliates with the unions. We are in universities. We focus on consumer advertising. We also do sporting events. And so there's an array of activities that we roll out to try and make sure that we educate as many South Africans as possible, as many consumers as possible, on the importance of buying local. And what underpins this campaign, as I conclude my presentation, is this advert that you probably have seen. And we rolled it out between July and August, and as part of our festive season campaign, we've brought it back as of the 15th of October, and it will be on your screens. The radio version will be on radio, it will be on digital platforms, and the purpose is to educate every single South African that comes across this message on the importance and economic impact of making decisions that benefit the economy, which is buying local. So for those of you who have not seen the ad, please indulge us, and I hope the message resonates with you.
The second half is about to begin. We need to change the scoreboard. It's time for all of us to pause and rethink the game plan in order to save the future. I call on all of us to be game changers, because greatness isn't reserved only for some people. By buying local, we're choosing to create jobs and sustain the ones we have. Time and time again, South Africans have taken destiny into their own hands, creating products that the rest of the world wanted to buy. See, the world remembers about us, what we sometimes forget. But it's time for change. Let's all buy local. It's game time. Zanzi.
Local is lekker.
Everyday decisions shape our future.
And that's my presentation, Program Director. For those who want to affiliate with Proudly South African, one of the benefits you'll have is that you can then advertise your products on our online store at no additional cost. And this gives an assurance to those who go into the online store that they are buying a locally made product that has been vetted and is of a high quality nature. We've also created portals for people to buy from, masks, sanitizers, and disinfectants during this COVID-19 period, so that those of you who are supplying those products can then benefit from the market that exists out there, and we're trying to secure it for local producers. If you're looking for membership of Proudly South African, contact us. The number is on our screen, is on the screen, 011-327-7778. But the easiest is to send us an mail, info@proudlysa.co.za, info@proudlysa.co.za, and that's how we will be able to get you registered with Proudly South African. Thank you, Program Director. That's my presentation.
Thank you, Eustace. Much appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please, may I request that you also hang around in case we need to bring you back at some point. There was a question that I spotted that I'm happy to quickly answer, where somebody's asking, what is the fee for a membership fee for NGOs? And it is 500 rands per annum. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much, Eustace. Much appreciated. And as we move along, may I please also just ask that you send us out your comments and your questions. I'll be on the lookout for them, and we'll have a Q&A session just before we officially close the webinar. So may I then welcome a lady this morning, who's one of our speakers, and Ms. Nwako Ramohlale, who is the Business Executive Innovation for Solu Growth. Welcome, Nwako.
Thank you very much, Makhumalo. I've coined that term officially.
You're most welcome to do that.
Thank you very much. Should I? Okay, wonderful. Thank you to the leadership of Proudly SA and to everyone who is currently in the webinar. As they said, my name is Mwako Ramohlale. I am one of the business executives, also shareholder at Solid Growth. And I think, just to the premises of why we're here today, it was interesting to listen to the two first speakers speak about, setting the environment and the tone of where South Africa is compared to where the global market is sitting in terms of technology and innovation, but also just looking at the products and that we provide in South Africa and how much we export versus how much we import. The numbers continue to be sad, and it's always a bit tricky because the business that we are in is in technology, and most times we are always in the process of automating some of the processes that happen in businesses, and are sort of also playing a role in reducing some of the jobs that exist in the market. Because I think when you look at where globally we are, there are some skill sets that are no longer relevant to the economies that we live in, and we need to then start adopting technology as often and as much as possible. But it's not all doom and gloom. We also are able to see new opportunities for the new generation and new skills that need to be adopted by literally every single human being on this earth. Looking at the fourth industrial revolution that we sit in, and also prepping for whatever the future may hold. But I think one thing is certain, looking at the third and fourth industrial revolution, is that technology is going to be here for some time, and digitization is going to be here for some time. And the best thing to do is to participate in it. So when I listened to the CEO speak earlier, talking about purchasing decisions and where we currently are in South Africa in terms of consumption, we also, in the service business, where we are affected by this because we have a lot of companies that prefer to also buy services abroad instead of locally. And the business that we are in is currently, driving a reshoring of professional skills, particularly in the accounting, finance, and IT space, because we believe that South Africa is really a good destination to look at competing with India in terms of offshoring your back-end office support for your business to run at a competitive price, competitive quality. And I think our privacy policies are quite strong compared to our competitors outside. And yeah, anyway, so let me introduce myself quickly. My name is Mwako. I grew up in Atteridgeville. I am 32 years old, if anyone is interested in that age, because I've been in business all my life. I've set up a few companies along the way, and in the process, I've received a few awards locally and globally for the work that I've been doing in the tech and innovation space. But my background is graphic design. I went to art school most of my life, and I just have always had a love for technology. I think growing up with boys, we'd always just dismantle remote controls and just want to see what's inside TV games, see what's inside the TV games, and swap some of the content with our friends inside I don't know if you guys remember those cassettes that you used to put into the TV games to play Contra and all of those games in the past. I think I'm exposing my age even further with the games that we grew up playing. But over the years, I've really been, engaged in the entrepreneurial space as a member and a trustee of the G20 Young Entrepreneurs Alliance for the South African chapter, known as YESA, Young Entrepreneurs South Africa. We have over the years been to the G20 summits with our state leaders to mainly promote and encourage state leaders globally to just open up the industries more to young entrepreneurs in both the product and service market. And I've done a bit of work at the UN, a bit of work with BRICS, and I've just been promoting and driving the process and the participation of young people in entrepreneurship, because as you saw the statistics from our previous speaker, we need to create more opportunities so that we can create more jobs. driven by innovation. It is critical that we continue to convince the world that indeed South Africa is a good place and a good destination to do business in. Africa is open for business, and South Africa remains the gateway to anyone who wants to come do business in South Africa. So I'm hoping that as I continue on my journey and my drive to advocate for entrepreneurship globally, that those who are on this webinar are also open to starting to share their business and their solutions to the world, because the world is really keen in doing new things, new opportunities, new ways of buying, new ways of doing business. So yeah, that is me in a nutshell. I will play a brief video that introduces who Solid Growth is.
Solid Growth, we in the business of providing business process outsourcing. We are the market leaders when it comes to technological transformational implementation, using business process re-engineering services for our clients. We analyze, redesign, and eradicate redundant processes in your business. Solid Growth applies business process mining when it comes to capturing every single process from any number of systems. This includes processes such as your order to cash, procure to pay, and complaint to resolution processes. Data, including exceptions and all variants to your process, is also accurately captured. We then redesign your processes with a focus on the outcome, giving us the ability to completely transform your business to perform at its optimal with reduced time and reduced cost. Please find us at www.solugrowth.com for your business transformation.
So yeah, that is Solid Growth in a nutshell. We coin ourselves as human beings that are driven by 4IR, and we do three things with our partners and our clients. One is collaboration. I think over the years we've seen that what we call the big four, the big consulting and outsourcing businesses, just focus on just giving you a solution and hoping that you will implement it on your own. But we collaborate with businesses, draft a journey map with them that will ensure that whatever problems that they're facing are not only implemented, but are sustainable in the implementation process. So collaboration is a big thing that we hold to ourselves. And then the co-creation of solutions is something that we also do, where we cannot create a solution for a business that is generic. We cannot look at a generic system that was created and say that go and implement this and we hope that it will work, and if it doesn't, come back, we'll try something else. We will co-create solutions with you with our technology, our artificial intelligence, and our robotics process system teams to make sure that the processes that are being converted into digitization or automation are done properly. They're done to suit the values of the business, and to also ensure that things are always sustainable. Because when you create solutions that are not sustainable, you find yourselves every year spending more and more money, but not seeing the impact and the results and the effects of your investments in dealing with issues. And finally, we strongly believe in creativity. Design thinking is something that drives how we solve issues for businesses. As an outsourcing company, we can't just, if you say to us you need 10 CAs, we can't just throw you 10 CAs for the sake of throwing 10 CAs. We will then sit and design and develop a structure that solves all your issues, then bring in the relevant people, the relevant skills that will support that. And the main technologies that we use are what we call RPA, which is a robotic process automation. This is mainly used to do cost optimization. I think looking at the economic climate that we sit in South Africa, before COVID hit, South Africa was already in a technical recession, and a few of our graders had put us in chunk status. So COVID then became that third leg of painful impact for our economy. And we've seen a lot of companies needing to then transform their businesses, and cost optimization has been, at the top of most financial directors and CFOs to say, how do we then, optimize on what we currently have? how do we buy better? How do we procure better? How do we spend better? How do we bring in more money? And try to keep our lights on. We've seen the carnage of jobs that were lost in the past 6 months during COVID. I think most of those jobs were going to be lost anyway because of the issues that were facing our economic climate even prior to COVID. But I think COVID just made things even worse than they already are. And so we are in the business now. We've met with quite a number of CFOs who are saying, help us, you know, in the banking space, in the telcos, saying, help us optimize our costs. And RPA has been a great solution because we're able to develop bots that do some of the redundant work that people used to do in the past. That I think, you know, if you look at the landscape of a business, if you are in the financial sector, for example, and you're servicing more than just South Africa, you're servicing companies in different timelines, it gets tricky for you to employ people to work 3 shifts in a day, to make sure that you satisfy the needs of every single buyer from you. And so technology and automation has allowed for us to continue working 24/7 without having to employ people for all 3 tranches of the day. But at the same time, these are, you know, the solutions that require for new skills to be brought into the country, where we've got a lot of people who are able to develop bots, who are able to code, who are able to build algorithms, who are able to read algorithms and implement on, you know, the outcomes of what the algorithms are telling them to do. When you look at data and analytics, it's a critical step that one needs to take to ensure that you're given the right information for you to set up shop. If you look at Massmart, for example, how Macro Game and all these stores are set out, they use a lot of data and analytics to see who are the big spenders, what do they like buying, what should we put in the front of the store. So you'll see Macro, for example, will always have technology in the beginning. As you walk into the store, you'll see big TVs, big cameras, gadgets, because according to data and analytics, the men spend more than the women. The dynamics of why this happens are a topic for another day. But data and analytics are critical to running a business, and we do that quite well. And then finally is just the operational efficiencies, and those are, you're able to see them and solve them quickly using artificial intelligence. And so these are some of the technologies we use. Just gonna play a video showing how we solved an issue for one of the telcos, just using a bot. So in the interest of time, the video is 3 minutes long, and I think you get the picture that is painted. We believe that as a proudly South African company, we are able to really help companies optimize their their costs, their revenues, and their processes, and improve efficiencies while maintaining the quality and the user experience that they need to for their customers. And we mainly service South African businesses, but we've got 3 big companies that we're servicing in the US that is on the 500 stock exchange market, and 1 in Australia and 1 in the UK. I'm not allowed to name them, so I won't, but we currently on a drive to bring in more businesses from outside South Africa, because we believe that South Africa is a safe country to do business with. We are efficient, our quality is good, we speak English well, and we're able to adopt technology as soon as we need to for businesses, but also customize the technology to suit the needs of every business. And I think, you know, the 4th Industrial Revolution is a critical part of the times that we live in, and I encourage everyone to just adopt it one way or another, so that we can just be a more efficient country and just start improving our economy and start improving the opportunities that lie for South Africa in terms of trading globally with our neighbors and partners. And with those words, I'd just like to thank you very much for the time that you have given me and us as Soligrowth. And we're available on our website, soligrowth.com. You'll find all the social media, emails, and everything you need to know from the website. Thank you very much to everyone. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Lady Nwako. Thank you so much. You do great work, great commendable work. Thank you so much for your inputs and for sharing so much intel with us. I see you're sharing your contact details. Allow me just to say that we know where you live. We will find you. We'll give our delegates your ID number, your home number, your children's school name, everything. We'll find you. Thank you so much. I'm hoping that we'll get some comments coming along, for you during the Q&A session. Thank you so much. We'll chat to you again just now. Thanks. So to our delegates, everybody who's online, who's joined us for this session, I encourage you to engage with us. You know, I know it's a lot to take in, to absorb, to think about, to process, but we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear what your challenges are, what your questions are, what your comments are, what your experience is in this space, what you're concerned about, what you think really works or doesn't. That's the whole purpose of the session, is that we don't just get to speak behind the scenes, but we also include you in the discussion. So our last speaker, but certainly not least, for the session is Mr. Eddie Mokobodi, who is Director, Emerging Markets, and he represents a company known as Sakisa Energy and Technology Group. Mr. Mokobodi, there you are. You're on screen.
Hi, how are you? Yes.
Well, thanks. How are you?
Good,
right.
Thank you.
When I get asked that question, I'm always tempted to say I'm happy when I get asked, how are you?
Then I'm Eddie.
And then you, Eddie.
Yes.
Welcome. Over to you, sir. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me just share my screen quickly. Let's see, why can't I find it? Hold on, let me do this. Just trying to share the screen with the slideshow. Oh, there we are.
You sorted. You found it. There we go. Thank you.
Is that visible?
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay,
thank
great.
you.
Okay, so thank you very much for having me on today's webinar. And I've learned quite a lot from all the speakers who have come before me. Very, very impressive. So yes, my name's Eddie, and I represent a company called Sakisa Energy and Technology Group. And what we do is we are an energy company And a bit about myself is I've got a background in construction management, and I've gained a bit of experience working on the power station, the Kusile power station. I've got a few short courses with regards to lighting, energy management, a bit of green building council, and I'm part of a few associations. So we a multidisciplinary startup SMME in South Africa, and we are positioned to serve the growing needs of the energy sector in Africa. So we can be reached on WhatsApp or on phone on the 076-539-9432 or on email on info@sakisa.co.za. We also have a YouTube channel called Sakisa Energy and Technology Group. So with regards to technology, we are looking at linking energy with technology, as those are the two critical areas that address a few needs, especially in Africa. So if you look at the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 7, there's about 800 million people living without access to electricity, and of that 600 million are in Africa. So we within the SADC region, developing markets, making us perfect to meet these positive results. We talk about load shedding. Load shedding affects everybody. Load shedding affects your business. What's the point of having a great server if you're going to be affected by load shedding? If you look at some of these headlines on the slide, you can see that it's not exactly a very happy picture. It's quite a tough picture to look at. You've got crisis, you've got dark days ahead, SA back in dark ages, city blackouts, catastrophic, more blackouts, lights out, black in time, donker week wag vir Weskaap. All right, I think I said that properly. So it's quite a grim picture that affects us all. So energy security affects most businesses or all businesses. It's moved from something that's urgent this actually become urgent, from something that's serious to urgent, and this prompts buying decisions. You've got a lot of rise in electricity costs that have also prompted buying decisions. We've noticed that most consumers are looking to become a lot more secure. So either exploring boreholes, gas stoves, solar geysers, solar systems with battery backup, or battery backup alone. Most businesses have started to feel that the rates and taxes they pay are starting to become unjustified. We've got the effects of COVID-19 where more people are working from home, spending more time indoors, so you cannot afford to have disruptions with your electricity or energy supply. So we're looking at a basic model for a business in terms of a solar system. And that's in the case where if you own the premises yourself, that means you've got access to do work on the roof and put your own solar asset. You could look at a hybrid system, which would be connected to the grid with solar and battery backup, and your selected loads would be powered by that. You could also look at a grid-tied system, which would exclude the batteries, which is just solar and utility, without the storage, which works out cheaper, but a lot more favored by businesses, as businesses run throughout the day and most businesses don't run at night. Solar has moved from a luxury towards a necessity. If we had had this discussion about 13 years ago, it may have been looked at as a luxury good in your home or business. But the technology prices have dropped, the efficiencies have improved over time, and solar panels continue to push new limits each year. The costs of going solar have continued to drop for the business owner. You've got some battery technologies that are in the market at the moment that are friendly. We call these the gel batteries. The picture just shows an installation of gel batteries in a garage. In the case of a homeowner, that should be sufficient for most homes in South Africa. In the case of a business, a more detailed assessment, maybe that size or slightly larger, could also be efficient. But you've got your 12-volt batteries 4 of them with about 50% depth of discharge. The gel batteries are budget friendly, reliable, and available in the marketplace. Just a bit of information on a popular gel battery. They lead dioxide systems. There's an electrolyte in there. The battery might be overcharged, producing hydrogen and oxygen with valves, so it avoids the excessive pressure buildup. But other than that, the battery is completely sealed, maintenance-free, leak-proof, and usable in any position. What's nice about these type of batteries is that if you have a small office per se, maybe with about 5 or to 10 staff members who are using your laptops, you could keep your lights on and your laptops running throughout any load shedding or cable theft, which does not disrupt your business from being functional. Just a bit on the performance characteristics: 12 volts, there's 6 cells inside, designed to last about 12 years. There's about 100 amp hours at a 10-hour rate, and that decreases with a lower hourly rate. And the temperature roughly is between 20 and 25 degrees Celsius. And yeah, there's a few 30 amps on the cycle charging current. And yeah, I think that would be sufficient for this. The depth of discharge means how much percent of the battery you drain each time. So the less the depth of discharge, the more cycles you get. So at a 50% depth of discharge, you're looking at about approximately 600 cycles. And the further you go, the more cycles you get. And the deeper you go, the less cycles you get. The more premium batteries are called your lithium ions. They're more expensive, a longer lifespan, with about 4,500 or more cycles at 90% depth of discharge. These are 48 volt batteries, either 2.4, 3.5s, or 4.8 kilowatt hour size batteries. So these are good for maybe your slightly larger applications. Say you have a few printers in the office that you'd also want to keep on backup. Then we can connect these batteries together. A popular battery is the Pylon Tech, which is one of the later technologies. It's quite simple. It's modular, meaning you can add them up. You can either have a small energy storage system or a large energy storage system. The lithium ion technology is expandable, and each unit has its own battery management system. And the batteries are stable and scalable, as I've said before. It's quite easy to install. Upgrade is also quite possible, and you get a real-time alarm notification if there's any challenges. The inverter is the smart device of your battery, or of your system, sorry, and you can, in our case, we're looking at between 3 to 10 kVA inverters in this picture. But with larger businesses, you can go up to 50 to 100 and 120, 150 kVAs, which would have a different picture and slightly or much larger inverters. Popular inverters in the smaller offices and homes are your 3 to 5s, 48 volt inverters, which would be linked to solar, possibly generator and utility. And these would either get charged by battery as well and link it up to your appliances. Some of the basic specs: they can run single phase, in this case 50 hertz. They have an efficiency of 94.5%. And yeah, that's about that. They work with the current as well. They can be 3 kVA or 5.2 kVA, 50 hertz in South Africa, peak efficiency at 90%, as mentioned. And they operate between 40 to 66 volts, but they are 48 volt inverters. The smaller one is the 24 volt inverter. The smaller inverter has a 60 amp charging current, and the larger inverter has an 80 amp charging current. So the question whether solar is a luxury or a necessity is one that needs to be made by you, the business owner or employee. We found that the case for business has started to change as more and more people move back home to work from home. you need to assess your environment and look at, will you be facing any disruptions whilst trying to either run your business from home or work from home? And as the employer, are your employees suited up to have enough energy security to maintain a full and consistent working day? If you look at some basic costs, from 42,000 Rand up to 92,000 Rand or more, you are influenced by the size of your house or business, the number of appliances, your preferred battery technology, which of course is your bigger one is your budget. But if you weigh these costs up with some of the gadgets available in the marketplace, I think this was taken about a month ago, this picture. You've got a new TV that's 35,000 Rand, the latest iPhone for 20,000 Rand, and a Samsung sound system for about 8,000 Rand. If you add all of those items up, you could possibly be able to afford a reliable solar system with battery backup for your home or business if working from home or in a small home office, as opposed to buying the new TV. So the decision is usually always yours. So my conclusion is that energy security and energy pricing has made businesses think differently. Predictability in the future around the supply of electricity has started to become more and more difficult, given the challenges we face in South Africa. So solar energy and battery backup has moved from a luxury to a now soon to be need. And the industry may be post-infancy in South Africa with a lot more opportunities to be explored. That is a thank you from my side. We can be reached on WhatsApp or on the phone on 076 539 9432. And our email is info@sakisa.co.za. And our YouTube channel is Sakisa Energy and Technology Group. I will hand over to you now, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
You are muted, Madam Speaker.
Okay. Sorry, see, now technology is dealing with me. So thank you so much, Eustace. So I was saying that, Eddie, when you say that now I hand over to you, Madam Speaker, I feel like saying, Honorable Member, I recognize you. You can now take your seat.
Thank you very much. Seat taken.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to see you again, by the way, because you're a member. You're a member.
Yes, I am. Yes.
You are family, right? So you walk this journey with us. Thank you so much. Let me just have a look on the Q&A platform to see if there's any questions for any of the speakers. There isn't. I just want to read something quickly where Solomon Damon says, I always find these webinars productive and relevant to business growth and opportunity. However, kindly forward the webinar material to us for perusal, sport knowledge, and consultation. It would be great to revisit such material and share with others. In the end, knowledge is power. Solomon, I agree with you. Knowledge is power. With the greatest of pleasure. So what I will request that you do is to please send us an email on info@proudlysa.co.za. info@proudlysa.co.za. Sending us a request for us to share the presentation with you, and we'll gladly presentations with you, and we'll gladly share that. I just took the leap of faith, and assume that all our speakers are not opposed to sharing their presentations. What I do know is that Proudly South African will provide you with our presentation with pleasure. Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to ask a question directed at any speaker for today, or a comment? Going once, going twice. I see no question or comment. And as we then wrap up, oh, there are a few questions actually. They're not on screen, but they've been sent to me. And any of the speakers, you're very welcome to come back on screen and take any of this. The first one says, what can one study to get into 4IR? Any takers from our panel of speakers? Mwako?
Sure. You know, the thing with virtual events, right, is that immediately after I spoke, I was tempted to take off my wig. Then I remembered Q&A.
So it's a good thing you didn't, but you would have looked great anyway, wig or not.
I had to remember too soon. So 4IR, I mean, I think it's more a movement than a subject. The subjects vary. There's so many things that you can study. So depending on where your passion could be, or your vision, what do you want to do, that then will determine what you can study. The basics though is that you can start with coding. Coding is a basic technology language that literally everyone should have at least the foundation of it. If you don't want to go to formal school for it, you can open on Google, just look for IBM DNA. IBM DNA then has a lot of courses from artificial intelligence to basic coding, web development, mobile apps that you can go through. And on IBM DNA, you collect what we call badges. They're almost like certificates. Then it puts you on the database of IBM. So if people are looking for you and they want to verify that indeed you did study something from IBM DNA on a specific subject matter, it will then verify that you did. It's free for Africans. It was done by IBM for Africa. And I think Telkom has 0 rated it. I just don't know for who exactly. But I mean, I think you can afford to just buy data and just, further your skills. But if you want to go really deep and technical, there are some universities in South Africa that offer some good technology courses and abroad. But online, if you want to go the free route or the quicker route, you can do it online.
All right. Thank you so much, Mwako. Thank you, much appreciated. Which then takes me to the next question on the list. It says that do any of the companies, or any of the companies represented here today offer internships for students who would like to get involved in the space? Anybody can, have you got internship opportunities, Mwako?
The assumption is that in the tech space, I think for us, it always depends on what skills you currently have, so that we can then, pay you with the right people in the business that can develop you, but also give you access to the experience in the market. So I think, if someone is looking, if they can send their profile through, N Ramohlale, I think you can see my surname on the screen, nramohlale@soligrowth.com. Let's look at it and see how we can fit you into the whole thing. If not, there are databases for days that we can also share your contacts with. But it's a great initiative to raise your hand and say that you want to be part of the digital movement.
Thank you so much. Anybody else?
Yes, Chair. So I just wanted to add something to what my colleague has just said, Ms. Ramohlale. So then I won't comment on the internships. So then I'll just comment on the courses. You're right. So then I do know that MIT has the online programs, but I'll just talk about the University of Johannesburg. So we've released some online courses. So then I think you have 4 series of them. The first one deals with the introduction to the 4th Industrial Revolution for business professionals. Then the second one deals with the blockchain technologies for business professionals. Then the third one is artificial intelligence perspectives for business professionals. Then the last one is the ethics in artificial intelligence. So we do have courses. They're online. So they take 8 weeks. Then you do get the certificate after the 8 weeks. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Any other internship opportunities? We good? Great stuff. So, and thank you so much, colleagues, for sharing that information with us and with our audience, rather. And then the other question is, do you know, anybody, any of the speakers, do you know whether South Africa will be ready as the 4IR wave happening all around the world? Do you think that South Africa will be ready for 4IR or is ready? Depending. Thank you, sir.
I like the question. So 4IR is here. The fact that we're here, so I'm doing this webinar at home, so then simply tells you that 4IR is here. So I was looking at the presentation that my two colleagues you did, Ngwako and I think Eddie. So then, I mean, it shows you that there are pockets of excellence there and there. We have the Presidential Commission report that has been released. So two key things for me there: the establishment of the AI Institute, so which will kind of train people. So in technologies, 4IR technologies. So then if we do that and we do it right, then I think we will be ready. There are pockets of excellence. So then the World Economic Forum has, in actual fact, said that. So in their benchmarking of South Africa. So, but I mean, there are areas where we have problems. By the way, the colleagues were talking about the unemployment rate. So then I've just seen the latest number. So it's 43%. So unemployment rate in our country now. So just a couple of minutes ago. So then we will be ready. So we just have to take this serious, and we need to ensure that we have these programs to expose our people to these technologies. And just an understanding, so if you look at those presentations that were done by my colleagues, so then technology and people always work hand in hand. There is no reason why human beings should fear technologies. So they allow us to take advantage of certain opportunities that they present. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dankis. And I couldn't agree with you more. The fact that we are here online today, hosting this event online, is an indication that we are right in the middle of, we are there, or at least 4IR is here. And even, I think, even beyond, I mean, for the past 8 months or so, we've given the restrictions and the lockdown and all of that, we've had to find ways to still be in touch with our audience, communicate with the outside world, and we've seen the use of technology intensify because we had no other choice. But even think about it, if before the pandemic, technology has always played a bigger role in our lives. It's just that as human nature, obviously we want to be out there, we want to be in contact, we want to travel, we want to do all the things that human beings do. But so technology to a large extent is there, but by all means, 4IR is here with us and here to stay. By the look of things, there is a question online that says somebody is saying that I will appreciate, the links. Will the recording be of this webinar be available? Yes, the recording of this this webinar will be uploaded on the Proudly South African YouTube platform. So you're most welcome to go get the have a look at this recording on our YouTube platform. Thank you so much, everybody. There is one question that says, how can one prepare for IR? And I think that question has been unpacked in more ways than one in most of the presentations that we had today. But you may feel that maybe you were looking for, maybe it's not enough or whatever the case may be. I'm very happy to let any of the speakers tackle it one more time, should it be necessary. How can one prepare for IR? Any takers? And in the absence of anybody in the event that you feel that maybe it's been dealt with, I will then propose that we close today's session. Anybody? No? Alrighty. With that said,
Madam Chair, I think just the presentation that Tangiso shared, Prof. There was a slide that I enjoyed that showed the digital literacy, the digital citizenship, and all of that. So I think in sharing our slides, a person can go through that and just understand how they can plug themselves into those various quads that were presented, because that then essentially prepares you for IR. But the fact that the person is also responding through technology says that they're already there. It's just a matter of bettering their knowledge and their skills.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot for that. And I see that Prof has already shared his presentation and a link on our platform, and I'll ask our technical team to ensure that that is available to all attendees for today, in case you have a keen interest in that link that Prof has shared with us. With that said, I now want to take this opportunity in closing the session to really thank all of our speakers today. We really appreciate your time. We do not take it for granted. You could have been anywhere. I've seen behind the scenes that you are, you've been pulled from pillar to post because you've got so many responsibilities, to take care of. But you made yourselves available. You're here today, and you shared with us important information, and your knowledge is commendable. Thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. And to the delegates, all of you that joined us today, we thank you so much for making time to be with us for about an hour and a half and learn from the experts that we had with us today, Professor Tangiso Moloi, Ms. Nwakora Mohlale, and Mr. Eddie Mukobodi, as well as our Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Eustace Mashimbie from Proudly South African. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I would like to, and thank you to Team Proudly South African behind the scenes from a technical perspective, and all of those that ran this webinar so successfully. I will have failed in my duties as a communicator and as a marketer if I do not request those of you attending today to have a look for our television commercial. It's on all SABC platforms, but it's also for easy access. It's on our YouTube page. It's called Game Time Mzansi. In fact, the CEO did share the commercial with you, and we are hoping that when you look at it over and over again, you'll have an appreciation of the narrative of what we are putting out there as Proudly South African, that our everyday decisions as consumers will shape our future. I mean, I think Tangiso, if I'm not mistaken, you just shared with us now that the unemployment figures or statistics have just come out. You were making reference to something that you were seeing as you were speaking to us, and it's about 40%. That is a tragedy. That on its own is a tragedy. I don't even know, and I doubt that figure that you made reference to is the realistic overall figure. I'm not too sure if it factors in people who've even given up looking for jobs. We all know somebody all of us, we all know somebody who has lost their job during the pandemic, who has been looking for a job even before the pandemic for years, qualified, great people who, have been looking and looking and looking. And unemployment is such a persistent tragedy for us as South Africans. And, it just, it's a rude awakening, a reminder. And our campaign, Game Time Mzansi, is really about that all of us can play a role, can play an active role as consumers and as responsible citizens to make the difference that we would like to see. Thank you so much, everybody. May I ask all the speakers to come back on screen so we can wave at each other as we say goodbye. There we go, as we say goodbye.
The week still on?
Sorry?
Is the week still on, Wako?
Still there.
Yes.
Still there. It's its last stages.
The week is still in. There we go. You see, the week never came off. So here's my question: is the week made local?
I bought it in South Africa.
Okay, that's all that matters. You bought it in South Africa. That's all that matters. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.